Hello, I'm Toycat and welcome back to the second channel video. Today I have some more Geography of Toycat for you all. It's everyone's favorite channel series where I talk about geography and the world and stuff. And today I wanted to talk about another former empire which stopped existing at some point, but that never truly, fully stopped existing, because this is a concept which seems to exist all over Europe. There are all these weird, former colonial empires that kind of exist as a separate entity, or overseas territories, or kingdoms that contain separate stuff, and no exception to this rule is the Netherlands. So the Netherlands is a country, which seems like it exists over here, just in northwestern Europe. Sorry, it seems like it kind of exists in that place, and you're like, yep, that's where the Netherlands is. But the Netherlands actually takes place over 3 separate continents, even before you consider the Kingdom of the Netherlands, which contains 4 separate countries. And basically, it's kind of a mess of administrative structures. And I figured, why not talk about it and show you where the Netherlands is? Because again, when you look at a map, you see this. So what I figured, why not explain it a bit better than you might see in an ordinary map? My face is glitching out very badly right now. So let's go back to this and let's show you where the Kingdom of the Netherlands is. Let's get straight into it by talking about the fact that yes, this is where the Netherlands is right here. This is where 98.9% of the population of the entire kingdom lives, and this is what most people are talking about when they say the Netherlands, or when they say Holland. But we'll come back to that in a second. The rest of the population lives in 2 separate groups of islands, or I guess really it's 6 islands that take place. They're kind of grouped together. We've got 3 islands which are found in the the North American part of the Caribbean. So we've got Sint Maarten over here. We've got Saba, and then we've got St. Eustace. We'll come back to all of these later, by the way. And then we've got 3 other islands which are very close to Venezuela and a part of South America. You've got Aruba, you've got Bonaire, and you've got Curacao. Sorry. The name for these islands, I really like it. It's actually the ABC Islands, and it's just like, yeah, ABC. That's how you explain Dutch territory, apparently. So ABC Dutch territory. Does that rhyme properly? But yeah, let's get straight to talking about the Netherlands just a little bit, because if we're talking about the Kingdom of the Netherlands or the Dutch Empire, I figure the most logical place to start is the Netherlands itself. So yeah, the Netherlands is sometimes called Holland because basically it's a high-income country that's split up into 14 separate provinces, right? So there's 14 internal subdivisions, and of these subdivisions, 2 of the most populated, in fact the most populated, and then one of the next most populated, is North and South Holland. So South Holland, the capital is The Hague, so it's centered around The Hague, and the North Holland capital is Amsterdam, the capital of the entire country at large. Almost half the population lives in North and South Holland, and people from these provinces will often like to just call all of the Netherlands Holland, which is why you get this big confusion. I've gone over that before, and it's better documented elsewhere, but there's the very, 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 very short version. That's why when people say they're from Holland, they're not technically lying, but it is a little bit misleading if you say what country you're from and they say Holland. So yeah, there you go. Holland's not a country, it's some provinces. It'd be like if you asked me, where are you from, Toycat? And what country are you from, Toycat? And I said London. They're like, no, the country. And I said London. I'd be, I'm not entirely lying, but I'm still being a bit of a dick to you. So that's kind of what that is with, Holland in the Netherlands. They're like overlapping names that don't entirely wrong. But basically, Holland is wrong. It is just 2 provinces out of the 14 in the Netherlands. I'd go over all the rest of them, but just for, very briefly, because I find this fascinating. There is this province right here, which is mostly this little kind of idle-looking thing. This is Flevoland, and it was mostly created in the last century by actually, using all of the. So you see these little road-looking things on the map. These were actually created to drain the sea that existed there and to create a brand new, giant province in the thing. Which again, that's fascinating to me. It's one of the 7 engineering wonders of the world. I think it is a big, big deal. And if you care about engineering and big projects and stuff, which again I do a little bit, this is a great thing to see there. And yeah, that's Flevoland. One of the. I thought that was the most interesting fact, the fact that they just made a province out of nowhere. I mean, not many countries can just do that, and the Netherlands did. And the other one that you probably have heard of is where this little really, really weird disfigured hand is. Do you see this? Just at the little south western tip of the country. If you look at the southwestern tip of the country, you can see this really weird diseased finger thing. That is called Zealand. So the thing that fascinates me about this, I know it's a tiny thing, but New Zealand came from here because New Zealand was discovered by the Dutch originally, and that's where the name came from. Here is Zealand, and all the way on the other side of the world is New Zealand. So there's a fascinating little fact. Especially fascinating is the fact that you can compare the Kingdom of the Netherlands to New Zealand in a lot of ways, because the way they structure their empire is kind of similar, and I just find that to be a little bit of a cool coincidence that you might like also. Maybe you don't like that, you're like, no, Toycat, the fact that a name is similar to something else does not matter to me, and if that is the case, let's talk about the other parts of the Netherlands. So yeah, like I mentioned, the Kingdom of the Netherlands is divided into 4 constituent countries, and although they're roughly equal, because they can all have a say in the overall affairs, because 99% is controlled by the Netherlands, this practically means that the other islands, the other 3 countries in the thing, have all of their affairs, all of their international affairs like defense, like diplomacy, citizenship, all decided by the Netherlands, and then they have lots of self-autonomy. This is kind of how the kingdom structure works, and then there's three other countries, which are just islands, which kind of exist as Netherlands, not as provinces, but as municipalities. So yeah, each province is divided into municipalities, and basically these municipalities just exist outside of the province system. It's very confusing, but that's how the Dutch Empire works. And let's show you where it is, and let's show you a few cool things, because I think I mentioned earlier on, there is a really cool fact about one of them, and I want to get into that. So yeah, the three countries, first of all, we'll start with Aruba, because you've probably heard of Aruba. I feel like everyone, Aruba is the one everyone mentions at some point, right? Aruba is this one right here. It's very well known for the tourism and whatnot. And, the temperature here is so ridiculously stable. It's something like the record low they've ever measured was like 20.3, and the record high was like 35. Year round, we're talking. It's like within 10 degrees, and even if you go to the high or the low of the 10 degrees, that's kind of hot or cold. So ridiculously stable, temperature. Apparently they have McDonald's too, so McDonald's in a stable temperature, and nice tourism industry. What more do you need from a place? Am I right? So as well as that, we've got Curacao over here. Curacao is probably best known for the drink named after it. If you haven't heard of it, it's blue, I'm pretty sure, and it's made from orange peel. And the orange they use to make Curacao is like, it's so horribly bitter on the inside, they only use it for the peel, which to me seems a little ridiculous that we grow oranges just for the bit that people don't eat, but that's what you do to make Curacao on the island of Curacao. So yeah, this is Curacao right here, the second of the countries, and in fact, the most populated of all of them. It actually, Aruba was the first one split, but it was, it's one of the ABC islands, it's the most populated of all the islands, and you can argue it's the most similar to an individual country. But yeah, it exists in the Dutch Caribbean, which, again, that gets confusing, but we'll come back to that later. That's the first two countries, Aruba, we've got Curacao, and then we've also got Sint Maarten. So Sint Maarten is one of the most fascinating geography things in the world, so get ready for this one, because first of all, it is, the top half, so Sint Maarten is the way you describe this entire island. The top half is then called Saint Martin, which is the French side, and the bottom half is called Sint Maarten, the Dutch side. So yeah, we've got one country called Saint Martin with two countries both called Saint Martin existing on it. Then the cool thing about this is because the top half is technically a part of normal, France, and the bottom half is technically a part of, the Netherlands. This means that there is a very, very bizarre interaction where France and the Netherlands, if you look on a map, do not share a border in Europe, right? But as you can see, no border. Definitely a big Belgium in between. However, when you look in the Netherlands, as we just were, so let's come right back to it. When you look in the Netherlands, so always taking a second, when you look in the Netherlands, they do share a border. So France and the Netherlands technically share a border despite not bordering each other because of these weird empire things. The second cool thing about the island is the fact that, especially the Sint Maarten side of it, the most fascinating thing about anywhere in the world that I'd love to go sometime is this beach right here, which is called Maho Beach. So Maho Beach is one of the most notable beaches in the world, but not because it's like great for beach surfing or anything. It's because of the runway, which is literally there. Do you see? There is the beach, there is the runway, and, if I try and show on a map right here, you can see how ridiculously close these two things are. There is literally like, oh yeah, there are some people, on the beach, and then just over there is the runway. And you might think, why is this even a thing people care about? Why are you mentioning this, Toy Cat? This isn't even geography or important to anyone. Let me show you what it looks like when a plane tries to land on that runway, because it needs to use pretty much all of it, because of the way it's constrained, geographically, and let me show you what that looks like just over here. And, yeah, do you maybe understand why it's a pretty cool beach? People come all over, and there's, like, flight time boards just to see this, because not only is it kind of cool that, like, there is a plane something like 30, meters just above the ground, which, again, it looks really close in this image right here. I believe it is a fairly considerable, distance most of the time. This is, like, a non-routine landing, but as well as being this very strange thing where you can see the planes at that point in the runway from underneath, which is kind of cool by itself, right? A lot of people will hang onto the fence from before, so we go back to there. A lot of people will hang on the fence from before, trying to get the, because when it lands, it makes this giant blast wave, and sometimes this blast wave, whacks people into the ocean at this ridiculous speed. It's like a thrill-seeking thing. So thrill-seeking, plane watching, and it's a pretty nice beach, I've heard, apparently regardless. So, yeah, there is a fact you might not have known about Sint Maarten, the third of the countries in the Kingdom of the Netherlands. I don't know why I suddenly went so blue. I don't know what went so horribly wrong here, but should I maybe lower down things? But yeah, that's it. Let me move on next to the other parts. So bear in mind, those are all technically like countries in their own rights, right? So they all kind of exist in their own little ways. Sorry about that. The way OBS blue screen works, apparently, like, it's all like software based. So apparently my face is gonna go weird. but let's just not focus on me. How about I just chill over here, right? And let's talk about next. The three parts of the Kingdom of the Netherlands, which exist within the Netherlands itself. So this is the very bizarre distinction we've got to make, where we say, okay, well, there is the Kingdom of the Netherlands, again, the country that the Netherlands is technically a part of, and the Netherlands is just a part of this Kingdom of the Netherlands, and within the Netherlands there is also 3 islands. Confusing, but let's just follow it. The first of the islands is Bonaire, one of the ABC islands off the coast of Venezuela. Very stable part of the world to be in, by the way. But no, this is Bonaire. Fascinating thing about Bonaire is they changed their currency from from what it was before. It was like the Netherlands Antilles dollar to actually being the US dollar, because so much tourism. In fact, 75% of their industry is based on tourism. So they figured, you know what, let's just have the US dollar, because that's where most of our tourists are coming from. It made things a lot easier, and it means that there are 3 parts of the Netherlands that use the US dollar instead of the euro as their official currency. Cool little fact. The second cool little fact is the fact that Kralendijk, this country, this capital right here, is it's really fascinating if you like subdivisions at least. Actually takes up more than half of the island by itself. I don't know. Like it's kind of because there are only really 2 like cities or settlements on this island. There's Krakendeel, and then there's Rikon just over here. They take up just all of the island between them, and it's just a really weird thing about one of the Netherlands territory, which exists right next to 2 of the Netherlands countries. And territory, country, province, municipality, confusing layers, but that's how countries work in the modern day. So, as well as that, we've got 2 other islands, which both belong to the Netherlands. I mentioned them earlier, but just to go over them one more time, we've got St. Eustace over here, which has an airport named after FDR, which I thought was a little bit strange by itself. And then we've got Sabah, which I think is just a little bit more interesting, because it was actually spotted by Christopher Columbus when he first sailed over, and he looked at it and said, I'm not going to land there. And that is the history. No, it actually went back and forth a lot between the their various European powers, like, the UK came in for a bit, and then, the Netherlands got it back, like, just over 200 years ago now, like, 1816, I believe, and they planted their flag on it, and it's been theirs ever since. So, yeah, go Sabah. It's one of the smallest islands by population size, only 1,700 people live there, and it's just one of these random little island mountain things that exists in the Netherlands. And also, so it's called Zion's Hill now. They changed the name, but everyone still calls it Hell's Gate. There is literally a part of the Netherlands called Hell's Gate that you can go and visit if you want to. And Hell's Gate even has an airport, so you can fly into Hell's Gate if that's your thing. So just a cool little thing in my opinion. So yeah, as well as that, we've got the because those are all the islands now, right? We've got the 2 over here. We've got the St. Martin. So there's like 2 sets of 3. There is the North American side, which is 2 territories and a country, and then we've got the South American side, which is 2 countries and a territory. But I figure, just one interesting thing about all of these islands being part of the Netherlands that I thought was kind of cool that maybe should be brought up is that when the Netherlands were invaded, occupied, etc. during World War II, their government in exile still kept control of these islands with the protection of the UK and the US. And yeah, just goes to show every now and then having islands halfway across the world from your territory can be useful. Just watch out for Germany. Maybe that's what everyone's doing with all these empires. They're like, you know what? Germany is a little bit close, and that's just my theory. And also another thing to keep in mind, just a little fun fact, is that South Africa used to be controlled by the Dutch, and that's why the Afrikaans language I should say, is actually derived from Dutch. There's a lot of similarities, which is why there's a language called Afrikaans that you can really easily learn if you know English or Dutch, which cool little fact. And then one more cool little fact is that Suriname, which exists right next to French Guiana, again another like French part of the thing that's technically part of Philon France, used to be part of the Netherlands until just 50 years ago. So yeah, that changed. They stopped being part of the kingdom, and now they're a little country. And this might just happen with Aruba and Curacao too. We'll have to see how that works. But for now, those are the 6 parts of the Dutch Empire today. Let me know if you'd like to see more empires, because people are always like, oh, it's like I can't do the French one, but I kind of did a video on that already. Let me know if you would though, because I am fascinated by the idea that like, oh yeah, we just own these things on the other side of the world, and that's okay. And apparently the Netherlands does it too, and so does France. Every country in Europe seems to do it, and it's a little bit bizarre if you ask me. But yeah, hope you do enjoy this video, because I'll see you all next time. Second channel, don't care, goodbye.